Right. So what seas would you have to cross from the UK to get to the Suez Canal? And how...
In a boat, in a canal boat.
In a canal boat, specifically. What route would you take?
But why would you go on the seas in a canal boat?
This is kind of where I was left at the end of the conversation.
So, imagined that he saw someone the other day, right? Because I don't know if he did. I don't know if that part of the story is even true. If I'm honest, Britt, that you saw someone, like whatever geezer.
I met a guy.
Tell the story again.
Yeah, I met a guy, just to fill you in, Roland. I met a guy. He's a filmmaker, and he does lots of geographical kind of excursions. And one of the things he's done, or claimed to have done, was get to the Suez Canal in his canal boat. And when I spoke to him, he was in Brentford Dock. So he's obviously he was obviously talking about doing a UK trip. No, because that was one of the other things he told me. He told me he's done a complete what's it called? Circumference,
circumnavigation.
Of the UK.
Oh, right.
The UK has been all the way around the coast of the UK. In his canal boat, it still doesn't make sense, does it?
There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people in canal boats in Hayes with heroin problems. You know that.
Yes, but I was in Brentford trying to score some heroin
off this guy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what Will Self used to do, didn't he?
What was that?
Oh,
he used to score heroin in Brentford or
Will Smith.
Boat. No, Will Self. I mean, maybe, you know, that's just say Will Smith. It sounds far more insane.
Will Smith did have a quiet period, didn't he? So
yeah,
he did.
It's possible.
And his wife kind of left him a little bit, but you know, I'll leave that for the lawyers. Maybe it was during that moment of reflection on the water in the canal in Brentford when he thought, I'm going to take some smack.
So why has the Will Smith and Pinkett family got their names all over the credits on Karate Kid now?
You on about Cobra? Yeah. I didn't know the names were on it. Do they own it then?
It looks as though they do, yeah.
It's Sony Pictures, credits. And isn't like Will Smith in there with Sony Pictures or something?
Possibly.
I think so. I mean, he's extremely wealthy, isn't he? So he probably bankrolled it, as Roland said.
Probably.
Because he must have believed in that other one to put his son in it. And then, you know, just massively jumping to conclusions here, but that's definitely what happened. He just thought, I'll do another one of these.
Unless it's a different Will Smith, which is entirely possible.
Or could have been Will Self.
Yeah, the Will Self.
Will Smith was smacked off his tits.
I saw Will Self live in person about 5 weeks ago on Hampstead Heath.
Right, okay.
Where?
Was he playing with Jazzy Jeff?
He was just walking. I like that spin. He was just walking where the pond is.
Hampstead Heath.
Where's the roads with the ponds? He was just walking there. And he looked like an English gentleman. He had like tweed or corduroy jacket and a hat and walking trousers. It was a Sunday.
He's got a swagger about him, hasn't he, as well, Will Self?
He's the kind of guy...
Kind of pondery dawdle.
He does have that posh tramp look about him. I mean, you know, I'm clearly going for that as well at the moment.
I think we're all there.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a hat.
I thought you were going for the seaman kind of look, for the sort of Hemingway... the old man, the young men in the sea. That's what I meant.
Don't start talking about seamen.
It's not a good time. Why did you dress in white? I mean, I have too, but you know.
See, I don't know about sailing to, I don't know, whatever in a canal boat, but today I walked to home base. and that was
Oh.
it was tough. It was because the thing is, it's a bit of a walk over the hill, and then back again with a can of paint in the rucksack, which is like more exercise, isn't it?
How many liters?
2.5.
Okay, I thought you were going to drop the 5.
But also
talking 2.5.
also sellotape, also a brush, one brush, and a bit of string. And what was it again? There was something else. Must have been something else.
I bet you're glad to take the weight off your feet, aren't you?
Say again?
I bet you're glad to take the weight off your feet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
What do you need the string for?
Just in case.
Good.
I mean, don't you carry string about with you, Prit?
No, I've clearly missed the meeting.
But he usually puts
emergency
them
string.
on guitars.
Well, that's fascinating, Dali. That is
No, but I mean, it was a lovely walk, crossing Finchley Road, busy Finchley Road, and
I used to live there, above Waitrose.
Oh, really? In that big building, in that big sort of.
Yeah, I loved that place. I love that flat. It's
Yeah,
great
it
being in the
looks
middle of
cool.
everything.
Looks kind of, I don't know, Art Deco or something, Art Nouveau, whatever that is. Old.
Yeah, Deco. Yeah. Did you come over there, Prit?
I did, yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like, so it's kind of like a big Art Deco. It is Art Deco, right? Is that 20s?
I just made it up, but
What's
I think it
Roland?
is,
Don't know. What's the 1920s kind of beautiful?
Well, it goes from Art Nouveau to Art Deco, so I don't actually know which building you're on about. If I did, I'd be able to tell you what it was.
It kind of looks like, what's the Hoover building on the A40?
Right, that's Art Deco.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
That's like one of those things they use in like Hercule Poirot as a set.
yes.
It's definitely been used in those, so yeah, that's
They've just got those wonderful kind of curved corners, haven't they? They didn't used to like do sharp corners.
yeah, it's I think everything was a bit sort of like a hard geometric sort of ancient Egyptian inspired thing. So there's always sort of those kind of ancient Egyptian sort of ostrich feather motifs that don't really look like and they're all kind of sculptural. And
what's that weird building?
There's loads of cats as
Yeah,
well.
because there's the one in Mornington Crescent, the one you used to work there as well.
That's one.
Yeah.
That loads of cats on it. Yeah,
Yeah, they got it.
The library.
No, it's
I
it
know
used
what
to be
you
a
mean.
tobacco
The
factory.
fashion thing. The fashion thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to work there with ASOS. Yeah.
because that's the thing. It looks like it's the closest thing you got to the Temple of Zul from Ghostbusters in real life.
Yeah,
Right?
it's true. It's true.
Well, there's the one in the middle of right. It's just where the hell is it? Right, it's just up from Tottenham Court Road, kind of like north of Tottenham Court Road, and it's a great big. I mean, it's been used in loads of different things. It was used in Day of the Triffids, the most recent one.
Okay.
It was used in that as like the base they were all sort of hiding in from the Triffids, But that's another one of those buildings, and it really does look like one of those kind of buildings, like the Ghostbusters building.
Where is that near UCLH?
I think it is actually.
Yeah. I miss London actually. Like I miss going out. I've kind of Jam and I got in the car and went into London at the end of last year. And we only kind of got as far as West London, but it was just so nice. No, we drove to King's Cross actually. So it was just really wonderful looking out the window and seeing London. I know you're pretty much in the thick of it, Dali, but like
I walk to Denmark Street to get pics. and then I walk back. That's my.
Nice.
But through Primrose Hill, through Regent's Park, then I cut it to
That's an
avoid
amazing
Oxford
walk.
Street and get 5 picks.
Yeah.
There's also a really cool guitar shop called the Hobgoblin, and they sell the what they call the Herdim. That's the DH U2 DH's picks blue. It says West Germany, and then I walk back, which is like maybe 40 minutes there, 50 minutes back or something.
Yeah.
Because it's
That's a
up the
nice
hill on the
walk.
way back. You see.
Yeah,
This-
but
this-
that's you're not carrying paint. I take it.
Not
picks
from
aren't quite
Denmark
as
Street.
weighted.
I don't think Denmark Street sells paint, but they do sell other
Strings.
things. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
But
that.
I can't
walk, though,
afford that.
south from Hampstead. That's great. I like that walk.
Straight down.
And you go down Millionaires Row as well, or you can do at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Loads of
Billionaires
beautiful walks.
Row, where is it is now?
Well, I remember when we used to live in King's Cross, you're just on the canal that can head towards the east then, and that whole stretch is really beautiful. That whole kind of like, as soon as you pass Angel, then you're into, the back of Haggerston and then into Hackney and all the way down to Victoria Park. That you can see why that's just become like just a massive series of coffee shops and kind of boutique weird tobacco stalls and stuff like that, and just coming up onto Broadway Market. But it's really interesting, like, because when Jam and I when we first kind of were in King's Cross, she'd been there for years before we got married, but when we were first there, none of that Granary Square place had happened yet, or it was just starting to be developed. I actually remember we'd been there. She'd been living there for like probably about 7-8 years. And we'd moved into her flat. We'd been there for about a year. And then we literally stumbled into Granary Square. And we were like, and it was just at the time when they'd put the fountains in and they'd cobbled it over and really cleaned it up for the first time. And then you got St. Martin's College just there as well. But none of the kind of eateries were in at that point. I think it might have been just been one. So it was like early stage development, and none of the kind of Google buildings and all of that was happening. But I remember we just walked around going, what the fuck is this? And how do we not know about it? And that was a really nice time. And like, it's very amazing how quickly I've grown to not like it, because it just happened over about a few years. There's just so much new stuff in there. It kind of doesn't feel nice anymore. There was something about that kind of. There's something about that derelict space going into a preserved space that's really beautiful, but as soon as it becomes utilized and kind of used, like there's eateries everywhere. There's new kind of executive offices everywhere. Everyone's been catered for. It's completely populated all times of the day and night. It's actually quite unpleasant.
The thing is that I was there was it just before or just after Christmas? I think, I can't remember, around Christmas. And so it was lockdown, and it is that they had the display of the, arty sort of Christmas trees, which was cool. But other than that, it was Zombieland.
Yeah.
Because all you are talking about was shut, apart from like Waitrose. And so it was it's actually quite spooky. Like, it was quite a gloomy sort of night. And I parked in this weird place inside, and I was like, oh my God, like it was like a horror movie with all the shops shut, actually. It didn't look that great, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I might do that tomorrow, actually. I might cycle into town. That might be quite interesting. I haven't been to the West End for a year, maybe.
You've got to just basically just do you go through Stratford into...
Yeah, I go along the canal.
Yeah,
probably.
that's it. You can do the canal the whole way.
It's quite nice, that. I like
So
that route, actually.
You kind of can go via. I'm trying to think how you do it now, because you've got the canal goes by Stratford, and you can go from that way towards Bethnal Green and then Angel, and then you're there anyway, aren't you? Really?
Yeah. The only problem I got with cycling in London Canal is it's actually, you can't get any speed up, can you? Because you're always having to be polite around people and
Around 6 a.m. you can though.
don't get
I reckon.
wet.
Actually,
there is
my
always the
brother-in-law
danger of-
saved someone from a canal the other day.
Really?
And well, no, I don't know if he saved him from the canal, but my brother-in-law does this, magnet fishing, where you basically lift seemingly weapons out of the canals. He does it in Nottingham, and this chap fell off his bike. An older chap fell off his bike into the canal with his bike. He was pulled out, but his bike was still in there. And my brother-in-law was like, I've got a thing here. So he lifted out his bike and
Well, it's like
helped him on his way.
magnet fishing rod or something.
Yeah, have you seen it on? It's a thing where people just chuck a magnet out on the end of a rope or kind of a reinforced fishing rod and pull out stuff that's been thrown into canals.
Shit.
It's quite interesting. You find loads.
mostly knives.
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of knives.
There's gonna be
He's
loads
yet
of
to find a
weapons.
gun. Yeah, he's yet to find a gun, but he's found some knives. But yeah,
World War
he
II
helped a guy.
bomb.
Yeah, there is that possibility. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah,
That would
Well,
be
there is in
really
these days, yeah.
unfortunate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just so you're on the canal and you're going past. Doesn't the canal though really? Oh no, you can follow it all the way to Camden and then down, can't you? From there,
Yeah,
But
you can.
The
King's
twists and
Cross
turns.
stops you, doesn't it? King's Cross, you need to, or do you need to get out
Yeah.
more than once on
There's
this?
It becomes the
There's
under
a-
river, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's around Angel. Around Angel,
tunnel.
the footpath, yeah, it just stops. There's just a real small barge tunnel, and that's it.
And then actually, again, when you carry on Regent's Canal towards like Little Venice, again, I think you have to get out.
It's called
It's
the
just
River
like-
Regent when it goes under King's Cross, isn't it? I think. Because I used to work for Camden Council, and in the basement, you could basically, there was a cover, and you could see the river flowing under the town hall as it was then. It's now been a hotel, isn't it? But opposite King's Cross Station, it ran under there. The River Regent did, because when it flooded all the
Yeah.
records in the Camden Town Hall.
There's also like an
Piecing this together.
There's a couple of rivers like that. I mean, there's the one
Fleet.
in Clerkenwell as well. Yeah, the Fleet.
The Fleet,
The
is,
Fleet is-
where I am
it's
now,
there.
but
Yeah.
it goes. I read all the way to like Fleet. So this is Fleet Road, but then it goes to Fleet Street in. Is it Fleet
Yeah.
Street down in
Yeah.
Strand? And
Yeah,
so it's
pretty
actually-
much down
So
to.
Yeah, go on.
Good God, what's the name of the station?
Fenchurch.
Yeah, well, Fenchurch is really bad, but I'm trying to think because it's Blackfriars Bridge, isn't it? So
Oh, yeah.
it comes out that way.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. So what? They're just rivers that are rooted underground.
Yeah, because
Well,
the Fleet River used to be there was
The viaduct, of course.
there were
Haven Viaduct.
prisons. There was the Fleet Prison, which was on the river there. Anyway, you had because you know, like you got Blackfriars. You got to remember that you've got Blackfriars, and then you've got by St Paul's there's Greyfriars. Then just up kind of Fleet Street way, there's Whitefriars, and each of these were in the medieval period they were islands, and the reason why they're called, you know, obviously they had different religious like monasteries on each of the islands. There were different islands,
Okay.
and they were in the Thames. And of course, you know, the Blackfriars, of course, are the
The one that's endured.
Yeah, there's
two other orders of monks. One of it is like St Francis was, I think, with the Greyfriars. Like, you know, that's the same order. Can't remember though now. Anyway, some really interesting stuff that way.
Yeah, it is.
Wine.
It's super cool. It's super cool. I think that's the thing.
There's loads of these subterranean rivers in London. There's probably about 12. looking
Yeah.
at it.
Well, it kind of makes
I
sense.
used to work. I used to work by Smithfield, or pretty much actually in Smithfield, in this office there. And obviously Smithfield is where they used to like execute everyone, right? But it's also where the field was. They used to have jousting competitions. And that's why the St Bart's Hospital is there, because that's been there for a really long time. But it's because of like these medieval battles. And there's actually, I think there's one of the roads there. If you look on the map, it's called Giltspur, and that was like where they used to parade the people who won the tournaments. They used to parade up and down there.
So,
And you've got on the other side of it. Maybe it's Farringdon Road. I can't think what it's called now. I've not been there.
That's the one that goes south to north.
the one that goes down to Blackfriars.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you cross it at that point, right, you've got the whole bit, the area where they used to have where all the jewellers are,
Hatton Gardens.
Hatton Gardens, which is of course to do with the Elizabethan guy who was like this lord who owned that area, and before that it was owned by the church because everything was. There's a little place. It's like near where the Wetherspoon is. You kind of cross the road, and there's a little alleyway, and there's a little place there where the devil was supposed to have appeared in the halls of like Lord Hatton at a dance when he was sort of called out or something. He left with some girl or whatever. So that's not what happens, right? You know, he's the devil. So yeah, apparently there was like a clap of thunder, and all that was left is like this burnt heart of this girl. It's just there, and it's called Burnt Heart Yard.
That's really an amazing story.
There you go.
Nice.
And just next to that is the real life street where Fagin would have had his, like the real life Fagin would have had his little setup with all his kids, because that's where there was all those
With his little rapscallion gang.
his rapscallions by the sort of low lying.
It is really big.
waterlogged
It is really. That's the wonderful thing about that part of the city. You've got all these meandering, curvy little kind of arteries going off the main roads, and it's really fascinating how everything's kind of built around there. I like the devil story. That's cool.
That
is cool.
There's a right next to it is the actual address of Pickwick Papers, like the building that was based on. So the address is actually there, though Pickwick Papers, of course, didn't really exist. So it's the sort of Charles Dickens thing. You know.
They've done a similar thing with Sherlock Holmes in Baker Street, haven't they? They've kind of
kind of immortalized a.
It's fiction turning into reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of the devil, have you guys read The Master and Margarita?
Yes,
Did you like that book?
it's a great book.
Yeah. Have you read it, Darley?
No, I haven't. No.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite fiction book. I highly recommend it. But it's just a really wonderful story. We're talking about the devil, so it's one of my favorite stories of the devil. I think it's just one of the best fantasy kind of tales of the devil. But it's a really wonderful book. And it's really interesting how that was written, because that was written by, is it Bulgakov who wrote that? Mikhail Bulgakov. He's a Russian guy.
Yes,
And he wrote, the legend is he wrote this story, and he wrote it around the 1930s. And I don't know what was going on in Russia at that time, but it was one of the I think it was a communist witch hunt of some kind, and I don't know the history that was going on at that time, but it was one of those eras where the artists and liberal people in society were getting rounded up for any kind of free expression that was deemed by the state as kind of just anti-state, and he was part of a club of kind of artists and various people. And he was kind of under the cosh of that. He was looked under the magnifying glass of that. And the legend is he had the manuscript of The Master and Margarita that was written, the only manuscript, he had it burnt, or am I remembering this correctly? Because it's a while since I read the forward.
I'm trying to remember, but I'm sort of it more or less. I think.
I think
because it was.
Yeah, he either had it burnt by the state or he elected to have it burnt when it was going to be taken by the state. There was one or two things that happened, but he'd written the book and then he just destroyed it. And then the reason we have The Master and Margarita now as a novel is apparently near his deathbed, when he knew he was going to snuff it, he basically just spoke it verbatim to his wife, and she transcribed it. So that's why the novel exists, because she transcribed him retelling the story and just rereading the story for her, and she transcribed it. And there is an allegory, there is a kind of metaphor for kind of this witch hunt thing that was going on in their society at the time. And so all these wonderful little poetic parallels are in the tale, and it's a really.
I think, yeah. There's also, I know that there's the side of it that because there's a cafe society thing going on where you've got these intellectuals sort of talking about basically toppling the, or dealing with the existing system, as it were.
Yeah.
And
but that's the funny.
Which. Bit of treason, if you like. In other words, I think that comes from his experience. I think he was a Bolshevik in the first place, so I think it sort of.
Yeah, there's a parallel there. But the thing I really like about his writing, and maybe that's kind of like the thing that I like generally in writing, is he's not drawn sides. That's why this devil story is really amazing, because it just comes in, he just doesn't give a fuck about sides. And that's the really wonderful, mischievous thing about this, what goes on in the book. It's so good.
It's slightly psychedelic, isn't it?
Oh yeah, completely. That's why I really love it. Like it's I found it really breathtaking. I found the whole thing like really, like first it kind of enthralled me, and you just keep reading, and then it kind of meanders off into territories you can't see, and it's kind of dark and it's very funny, but very beautiful. The ending is one of my favorite kind of works of fiction. How that ends. I mean, speaking of psychedelic, have you read The Teachings of Don Juan?
No, I haven't.
Everyone should read that. That's fucking amazing. So
Do they do it in a movie? Can you watch it?
No, but you would really enjoy reading it, Greg. Like it's like a really wonderful thing to go to bed to or whatever. But it's done in two parts, and it was by Carlos Castaneda. I can't remember his name. But it's basically an account of him meeting on an excursion to Mexico and meeting someone who's pointed out to him is a shaman, and his name was Don Juan, and he basically kind of was he went there as a botanist, so he went there to study plants, and when he was there, he was kind of introduced at distance to this shaman called Don Juan, who he knew everything about peyote, and obviously his interest was from a botanist perspective to begin with, and it's just this really amazing kind of account of how it took him like 3 years to win the trust of Don Juan to give him his details that he wanted to find about peyote, but Don Juan kind of got him into this agreement saying, okay, I'll take you on, but you're going to be my apprentice. And it's literally like Master and Jedi shit, and a scientist documenting their first-hand subjective experience of all of their trips. And it's fucking amazing, because it's really wonderful when you have anyone talking about their psychedelic trips or their kind of psychedelic experiences. It's always fascinating and interesting, but it's really wonderful an academic who's scientifically orientated talking about what they're subjectively experiencing firsthand and being able to document it. Because when you read it, you think, this is someone who is approaching this from science and just talking about what they perceived. And this is the most balls-tripping fucking bollocks I've ever heard. It's fucking amazing. It's so good. It's really amazing. I recommend that. And it's only short, Greg, and the words are really big on the page.
Oh, thank God for that. Thank God for that.
I was going to say, a friend of mine posted up this morning something I'd totally forgotten about, and it's Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson did a thing in the 90s with Kurt Cobain.
Oh, really?
Did he?
Yeah, Kurt Cobain playing this sort of guitar, like noise, just making noises, really. Lots of feedback, with Hunter S. Thompson reciting, narrating.
Just talking.
Really?
Yeah.
Just speaking his writings.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's great, yeah.
That's got to be trippy.
How do you share the screen? Is it possible to share the screen here? I want to, or send the
Yeah.
picture. I can't send the picture even. Maybe not. No, I just have a good picture with my bass next to because you mentioned Smithfield Market. My bass is just below where they executed, Mel Gibson. So because I used to work there as well, close to Smithfield Market. They used to sell women there as well, by the way.
When did they execute Mel Gibson?
Oh, I can tell you, I have the picture open here. In 12.
Technically, it wasn't Mel Gibson at the time.
No, it wasn't. 1305.
Yeah.
1305. Who was
William
Mel
Wallace.
Gibson playing? William Wallace.
William Wallace.
Yes, Braveheart.
Was he executed in Smithfield?
He was everybody was.
Hang, drawn,
Anybody
and
who's
quartered.
anybody. If you were somebody, that's where you were executed.
Isn't it?
Back in the day.
What about Tower of London then? What happened there? Is that
Well,
prisoners?
That was mostly. I mean, that was. They kept various people there as prisoners. They did.
That was
execute
a
people
show.
there.
That was a show
Not
dungeon, right?
not that many.
Yeah.
actually.
The thing is, if you're going to be hung, drawn, and quartered, like a common treacherous bastard that you are, then they do that in Smithfield.
Isn't it really fascinating that Smithfield is now like a place where?
A meat market.
Yeah, it's a meat market.
The funniest
same
thing is just literally just where that plaque is for William Wallace. Like as you're facing it, if you turn to the left, there's the church there, which is the Four Weddings and a Funeral Church.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the one where Hugh Grant doesn't get married to what's her face?
Duckface.
And he sort of says Duckface, where he turns around and says, "Yeah,
yeah, he gets
It's,
punched in the mouth.
brother's
And
signing." Whatever.
There's
it was.
another
Yeah.
church nearby where he made another movie. Was it about the boy or is it not about Hugh Grant in the other?
I remember that movie.
Yeah. That's
There's
one he
another
did.
church close to it. I do like. I mean, inside Smithfield Market, there's this sign saying that. I don't know. Actually, it wasn't that long ago. To be honest, you could sell your wife there because it was really difficult to get divorced because of the church. So legally, if you sold her, that counted. It was fine. Someone else bought her, and you got rid of her. So people used to do it in Smithfield Market as well. You could sell your wife. That's a bit strange, actually, isn't it?
I do actually.
Do they still offer that service? Or?
No, I can find out for you. I'm gonna.
Now we'll see who watches this and listens to this, won't we?
I do find it quite dark when I go around Smithfields. Like, I if you're that way inclined, which I know. Well, I don't know if you are or not, but like there is a funny energy when you walk around Smithfields.
Well, last time I went there, well, not last time, quite a few years ago, and they were shooting James Bond there.
Oh, they were doing that while I was
the
working
underground
there.
car park.
Yeah,
isn't
with
it?
a Land Rover, whatever, Range Rover driving down. So I saw that scene. Were you there, Roland, at the time?
Yeah, I was working there at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, it was. There were loads of as it is. It's like London, full of loads of extras dressed up as police in like body armor and all the rest of it. So of course, you're getting there, heading to work, and then you're like, fuck's happened here?
Yeah.
Just I thought, oh, good God, maybe I should go home. But it's okay, it's fine. It was just Judi Dench in a car,
Yeah.
You had, strangely enough, Sherlock, because you got the hospital there as well. That's the whole thing where the recent TV thing. That's where Moriarty does it. Is it Sherlock dives off the roof? Sherlock does, doesn't he? Yeah, that's where the 55 bus stop is. The one that comes to Leighton that way.
Yeah.
That's half the fun Jam and I have when we're watching anything. Like if it's in London, we're literally shouting at the screen, going like Pentonville Road, and just spot the road.
I watched a bit of A Hard Day's Night yesterday. Actually, it was on BBC something, which I've seen before, obviously. But
The original, or
just A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles, the black and white one, which is actually, I kind of like the movie, to be honest. It's really weird.
Have you seen the footage of the stuff that is it Peter Jackson? Peter Jackson, isn't it? He's doing they've got hold of some footage of the Beatles from that's never been released, of them recording what's the one with Back in the USSR? Rubber
White Album.
White Album,
Rubber Soul.
yeah.
Is it? It's when they're recording that.
White Album.
Is that the one?
Yeah, so Peter
the White
Jackson,
Album?
Lord of the
Was it
Rings.
Rubber Soul?
He's he's directing it.
Yeah, so they've got all this I don't know, let's say 100 hours of footage, and he's cutting it up, and it's like HD quality.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I did Google it. Yes. It's
It's cool.
Yeah, it's wow.
The footage looks really cool. I'm not a big Beatles head. I appreciate them, but I'm not a big Beatles head. But the footage that he shows, because he said, look, we're not going to make a trailer. The trailer will come out next year, but here's some scenes like put together, just so that you get a feeling for the recording. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really cool. They've got like different takes, and just the way it's Peter Jackson's way in it. But
I know it's really
wicked. I think that's going to be brilliant.
Well, I suppose we're in the day and age for that to happen. Because if you think about all this stuff that was on the cutting room floors of films for years, they never foresaw the era of where you need content, and all that cutting room floor shit is actually usable, and now it can be applied because people have shown the appetite that they're ravenous for it. I mean, one of the things that Jam and I enjoyed most about the Karate Kid kind of stuff was after we finished watching, Cobra Kai, after we finished watching the series, was we were devouring the interviews and stuff, because you want to know how it's made. You want to know about how they entice the actors to come back and blow the dust off their, themselves, and all of that extra stuff is good. It's entertainment worthy. So it
used to be the extras on the DVD that you thought, oh, fuck that, I don't really want to watch it.
Exactly.
So it's as connected, were you?
Well, this is it. It's become a place where, maybe the content and the DVD extras are just as important as each other. They're all entertainment. And again, if it's the quality of what you're talking about, like with the Beatles footage, I remember the other thing that I saw that was quite thrilling was when we went to Olympic Studios, because now it's a cinema. I think there's still a studio there, but it's like a cinema in residence in Barnes. It's a really beautiful cinema. I highly recommend it. But when you go there, they've got this really wonderful footage at the beginning of just the kind of Olympic Studios ident to kind of show off the heritage of where you're at. They've got Sympathy of the Devil plays. And it slowly creeps in while they're showing all these amazing people like Jimi Hendrix, all these icons, just the screen filling up of all these amazing people who've been in that building recording amazing music. Then you just basically end up in that Sympathy of the Devil session, and they've just got the real film, because obviously there was proper whatever film quality.
Yeah.
And then you're just watching Sympathy of the Devil, and the Stones just just there, and you think, wow, I might be sitting in one of the partitions that's going on here. And then it's really nice. They kind of finish it up, and they've kind of got, you can hear everyone peter out, and then Mick Jagger's like, should we do another one? Like at the end of it. And it's really fun. It's really magical, but it's really wonderful to see, you want to see behind the scenes,
Yeah.
That's why we do this. Everyone wants to see behind the scenes.
Same thing. Exactly the same thing.
They want to see what's behind.
Same room.
Yeah.
All
on tape.
They just want to see what's behind the content, what's behind the music that we never make. That's what they want to see.
Yeah.
This is the most analog session we've ever been in.
There's going to be, at some point in the future, there's going to be a very, very clever data archaeologist who's digged this up from a vault 2,000 years ago. They'll lectures on this, and then they'll be doing lectures on this for 20 years, and then all of a sudden some new young data archaeologist will come along and go, actually, I've discovered something new about these people on this Teams chat. They were actually a band, and everyone will be like, fuck off. Fuck off
me.
with your alternative science.
Yeah.
They were never a band.
How is that going to help me to buy more pigs now?
Don't know, mate. You need more paint.
You need more guitar shops. You need to find more guitar shops for more options for picks.
Okay. A cut one out of old CDs.
I mean, obviously this bit we can
start
cut out
making-
of our...
You need to start making plectrums out of fossilised dinosaur poop. Because then...
Because
You
that's
got
the
it
real
going.
shit.
Here he is. Here he is.
Pun meisters. I've noticed something about Dali. He likes a good pun. I've noticed something about Roland. He likes a good innuendo. Have you noticed that, Greg?
I like it. It's
They're
wobbling right in front of his mouth right now.
Hands up, they're both pretty good at it.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
But that's the thing. Shame you and
liking
I
it.
have got nothing.
Yeah. That we have to cut this bit out because, it's about one of the people on Facebook. But I had really good fun last night. I commented back to a guy who... Did you see it? There was a chap that said, I was a pro drum for 4 years. And these guys have no idea, or they should just give up. I can't believe, whatever, basically we're shit. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to look through his profile. And he had this huge cat. Huge, obscenely big. I thought, it's either call the RSPCA about your cat because you're overfeeding it, or I just went with, oh, thanks for your comment. Did your cat eat your drum kit? was where I went. But I mean, you should see this cat. It's the biggest cat I've ever seen. It's so big.
I think that's fair. It is really funny. I think I've sussed out the strategy for dealing with really shitty comments is, number one, it's difficult because if you engage with them, they start drifting up to the most relevant comments in the feed, and you want to kind of avoid that because you're obviously trying to promote yourself. But if I always respond to it if I can think of something very funny and witty, because then it's kind of like game on. And yeah, so that's a good one. Greg.
You had a really good one the other day. You had a really good one the other day.
Which one? Yeah, I remember replying to a couple recently, but there was one. But this is what happens. There's two types of people. There's people who shit on you, and then if you reply back to them, they take it really badly. But then there's people who shit on you, and if you reply back to them with something funny, and then they engage on the humor level, then it's actually all good. There was this other guy who responded, going, because I think the caption on the live performance is, "We haven't played for months." Than this,
yeah, you should never have bothered.
And then this guy, there was one guy who went, "Not surprised. What a bloody racket!" And then I done the similar thing, Greg. I just logged onto his page, and he's just this old boy, and he's in the pub with his mates, and like his kind of banner is like him like this, smiling with his mates, and he had the most fucking amazing teeth. It looked like he'd cut some card out and stuck them up there, and so I remember actually being really shocked at that. So I just replied and went, "You have amazing teeth!" Exclamation mark. That was it. And this guy just came back with like a ha ha ha, like loads of laughing faces. And then we went back and forth like about 4 or 5 times, and we had some good banter. And he was like, "Yeah, good luck." But it's quite amazing how many miserable cunts there are out there who just want to shit on you. Like,
there's this guy, because he literally he must have spent a while. I mean, he's obviously not very well written, but he took the time to basically say, he gave himself credibility by saying, "I was a pro drummer," which I very much doubt from his photo.
What does it even mean?
Oh, I know, it's hilarious. So he said that I was a pro drum. He wrote. I mean, number one, he did a trump immediately and was badly written, and then after that he goes, something about you're all too old. I gave up in my prime or something like that. And then that's the reason I stopped drumming, and that's the reason why I responded to him saying, "Did your cat eat your drum kit?" Because I looked through and I was like, yeah, you weren't a pro drummer, mate. I looked at your photos. But it's just funny. These people just take their time. I guess they're all locked down as well, aren't they? So they're like, let's shit on everyone else. It's funny. Well, I don't ever feel the need to say something negative about someone's work. But,
no, I mean,
that's cool that people do it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you just go, I don't like
stuff
this.
I don't like. But
if I see something I love, then I comment. Yeah.
But especially when you are a musician, why would you do that too? I mean, there's people who kill people, and there's people who steal money from other people through banking or whatever. But if you are a musician and someone else, try to record something, if you don't like it, just look somewhere else. Don't bother. Don't bother.
Taste.
It's for someone else, right? I mean, I'm not listening to Taylor Swift on a daily basis, but
every other day. I know.
But you're not commenting on her Facebook page, telling her. Suck it
She
off.
would be hurt if you commented. She's looking at all those comments. I know it. Cool. Well, another podcast.
Another podcast wrapped up neatly in a nice little bow.
So is the next video then being filmed in the canal boat on
the way to the
Pacific Pacific Rim?
Here we are
on the Niagara Falls.
Hang on, little Roland pipes up then when he gets a little doobler.
Was there a little innuendo?
There was a little
chance of it
in there.
Someone said
a little
rim.
bit of rim. Someone said rim, and he's off again.